This lion got stuck in a trap for years and was in lots of pain. But 3 years later, something astonishing happened. Animals' lives are constantly placed at risk for ridiculous reasons, such as human desire for rare animal products. Poaching has led to the death and endangerment of several animals, but many of these stories don't make it to the internet. Well, one of these tragic occurrences certainly did, and it broke everyone's heart. This story took place in Mikumi National Park in Tanzania. For years, poachers frequented this area, leaving many animals dead or badly injured. So, in 2009, as usual, some poachers set traps in the park, hoping they would capture animals. Sadly, it was this illegal act that left a young lion in a state of misery for 3 years. Mikumi Park is Tanzania's 4th largest national park, and it is blessed with a variety of animal species, including elephants, buffaloes, zebras, wildebeest, hyenas, leopards, and lions. These animals roam freely in the park in search of food. So, one sunny afternoon in 2009, a lion cub set out to hunt for food. He often went out with the rest of the park, so, despite being young, he knew how to hunt. When he got to the field area, he laid down in the tall grass and waited for an unsuspecting animal to pass by. Little did this cub know that he was hunting his last prey, at least for the next 3 years. After 20 minutes, the cub started to get impatient when he didn't spot any prey. Besides, the weather was becoming scorching, so the lion started to pant and desperately wanted to get under the shade. Over time, it seemed like he would return to his den on an empty stomach. But just as the lion was about to give up hope, he spotted an antelope. You see, lions are the second fastest wild cat, with a top running speed of 50 miles per hour, 80 kilometers, though only for very short bursts. This can be highly exhausting. That is why lions have to be close to their prey before attacking. So, this young cub waited till the antelope was within close range, but when he got charged, he missed his target, and the antelope began to run for his life. This young cub wasn't the type to give up, so he started chasing after the antelope. The chase went on for about 2 minutes until something devastating happened. The lion, blinded by his desire to feast on the antelope, didn't see a snare that was set by poachers, so he ran straight into it. It was a creepy device with a metal catching ring and a bait in the middle. As soon as the lion poked his head into the trap, it instantly slammed shut. The cub tried to free himself from the trap, but he only ended up tightening the metal ring around his neck. As minutes passed by, the poor animal still kept trying to free himself, but all was to no avail. The antelope, who seemed to have forgotten that the lion was about to take him down, waited, perhaps out of pity, to see what would eventually happen to the young lion. But after waiting for about 5 minutes, the antelope left, leaving the poor cub to his terrible fate. The evening sky started to turn into molten brass, and daylight began to drain away. Soon enough, the moon became the only visible source of light, and it stared at the poor lion as he continued trying to free himself from the trap. Finally, at dawn, the cub successfully pulled himself from the trap, but the metal snare still remained around his neck. As soon as he was free, he didn't even try to move around. The cub, who was clearly exhausted and in pain, just laid on the grass. Sadly, this would be the beginning of a terrifying life that the lion would never have envisaged. After a while, the cub, who had regained some strength, got up and went in search of his pride. By then, the snare had already cut deep into his flesh and he was bleeding profusely. When the injured cub found his pride, they could tell that he was badly hurt and they sympathized with him. Sadly, all they could offer was their love, moral support, and care. Of course, none of them could remove the snare from his neck, as setting the lion free required human help. As time passed, the cub's condition worsened and his wound became infected. With each passing day, the snare dug deeper into the cub's neck, making it hard for him to grow a mane, breathe, or eat. The poor animal was in a deplorable condition, and his wounds continued bleeding. Since the discomfort caused by the snare made it impossible for him to move freely, he couldn't hunt. So, how would the animal survive? Would he starve to death? Well, what you are about to see will leave you in tears. This cub probably could have starved to death, but his family members came to the rescue. Each day, they brought food to him, and they did this for 3 years. Whenever they went out to hunt, they always came back with the cub's share. What a beautiful display of love. Indeed, animals have so much more compassion than we sometimes give them credit for. Well, now that feeding was out of the way, what about the snare around the lion's neck? Would he ever be free from it? Keep watching, because something unexpected will happen soon. After a few months, park rangers finally noticed the injured lion, and they began a rescue mission to remove the metal wire around his neck. Unfortunately, when they started tracking down the animal, they discovered that saving the cub was going to be difficult. For some reason, best known to the suffering lion, he started hiding far away in the wilderness, so the rangers couldn't locate him. Besides, he was protected by his kin, and they didn't let anyone come near him. A wildlife rescue team eventually intervened, and an operation to save the animal began. The team split up, and each group was assigned a different task. One group was to find, catch, and sedate the animal to remove the snare, while the other group had to chase away the lion's kin. All groups did their best, and within a few days, they had finally sedated the animal and cut away the electrical wire around his neck. It was just in the nick of time, because if they had taken longer to save the cub, the snare would have suffocated him to death. A team of veterinarians treated the animal and they set him free. This rescue ended 3 years of pain and suffering for the lion. Ever since the rescue, this cub would often go to the place where the rescuers removed the snare around his neck. Although he didn't get too close to the site, he would just stare at the spot for a few minutes and then walk away. The rangers believe it was the lion's way of expressing his gratitude to his rescuers. A few months later, the lion was spotted, and this time around, a lot had changed. The lion had gained considerable muscle mass and also an adorable mane. The lion now walks happily in the wild, and only the scar around his neck is a reminder of that bitter experience. But would this be the last lion to suffer at the hands of poachers? What do you think can be done to curb poaching activities? Sadly, ever since the decline of tigers, there is now a growing demand for lion claws and bones in parts of the Far East for use in traditional medicines. Researchers have shown that the population of lions are on a serious decline. There were an estimated 200,000 lions in Africa in the 60s, but this number has now dropped massively to just 23 to 25,000 individuals. Fortunately, there are projects such as the Sana project in Tanzania and other parts of Africa and the world at large that have been set up to protect national park areas against poaching activities. Hopefully, projects such as these will help protect and preserve wildlife for the future. What do you think about the story? How do you think poaching can be curbed? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section. Also, if you found this story educational, then share it with your friends so they don't miss out on it. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't, please turn on your notification bell so you don't miss out on more stories. See you next time. Thank you.